Welcome to the Kendra Nicole Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of business and entrepreneurship, sprinkled with a touch of motherhood, chaos, and wisdom. I'm your host, Kendra James Anderson. With over 20 years of experience in the business arena and nearly a decade as a full-time entrepreneur, I've witnessed the ebbs and flows of the corporate world and the entrepreneurial landscape. But that's not all. I also navigate the beautiful chaos of being a wife and a mom to a lively toddler. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking for fresh ideas or just getting started on your entrepreneurial path, this podcast is your resource for valuable insights, motivation, and practical tips. So grab your notepads and let's embark on a journey to success. This is the Kendra Nicole Podcast, where business is our focus, but we also appreciate the beautiful mess of motherhood. Let's get started. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Kendra Nicole Podcast. Today we are talking all things money date, and I'm very excited about that because I love the topic of money dates. I've been talking about this for so many years. I've been doing them myself so many years. But I have to say, if you are joining me by watching this on the YouTube channel where you can actually see the video, you will see that I am here in like my workout clothes, hair looking a little crazy. I just got done taking a walk. And I'm pointing that out because this is actually an episode where I don't have a whole full outline. I was like, I just need to get this done. And it really came to fruition. I needed to get it done when a client of mine actually asked exactly like, how do I do this money date? Because we were having a meeting. So obviously I handle her business financials. But on the personal side, she has a lot of stuff going on. Her and her husband, they're doing some investments and things like that. And she's like, so what am I supposed to do, personally as well? And I'm like, have a money date. She's like, okay, well, tell me more. So if you're a client of mine, I love Loom and that I will send you personalized videos all the time to help you through things. And so my original thought was to create a Loom to send to her. Then I was like, wait a second, this is something that a lot of people need to know. Well, really that everyone needs to know. And then a lot of people probably don't do. And so let me just go ahead and actually make a podcast episode about it. And so I did put some bullet points here to make sure that I don't forget some very important parts of it. But this is going to be a little bit like off the cuff, which I don't know. I don't know why I'm a little nervous about it because I've been money dating for literally, I don't even know, do the math, decades. But I don't know. I guess I love having my outline because I know I won't forget anything. But with this, we'll just dive right in. So with that, let's go into it. So a money date. So I feel like I'm about to go on another little side tangent already. I feel like this is why I use an outline, but I feel like I should have trademarked the term money date decades ago when I started doing this, because now if you look up money date, you'll see it all about more so in the vein of people sitting down with like their spouse to talk about their financials. When I talk about money dating, I talk about it with yourself because talking about it with your spouse, yes, it's important, but you first have to know your own position. Like you first have to know where you stand individually, and where you stand as a business owner, if you own a business or if you're an entrepreneur, a side hustler, or whatever. And so actually, yes, I am going to go on a tangent. I am going to see if this is trademarked because I really should have trademarked this years ago, because now I do hear people talking about money dates and I'm just curious, has anybody trademarked it? It looks like it's actually not trademarked, not that specifically, but anyways, I'm probably not going to trademark it because let's be real. Anyways, off of that tangent. So what is a money date outside of a non-trademarked asset that you might want to go ahead and grab if you're listening to this? What is a money date? A money date is when you sit down and you get real with your financials. It's when you do some very specific steps, yes, which we'll talk about, but it's when you, it's what helps you get clarity around your financials. It's what helps you get confident around your financials. And so, people love to say like, know your numbers. Yes, knowing your numbers is important, but it's not just a matter of knowing like sales, expenses, or on the personal side, maybe W-2 income versus business income versus how much I pay my lawn guy versus how much I pay on groceries. those things are important, but it's really more so about the confidence and the consistency. And so I will suggest that you do this every single week. And there's a reason why. And we'll talk about it. If you wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month to do this, it's going to just become overwhelming and you're not going to enjoy it as much. So if you do it weekly and you get into that routine and that habit, that confidence will build in like you understanding your numbers. And it's just a lot smoother and easier to do when you do it on a weekly basis versus on a longer term basis. Okay, so the actual process, one of the key things that you want to do with the money date. And again, yes, you can do this with the spouse, but when I'm talking about this right now, I'm talking about this just you, your computer or iPad, laptop, whatever you want to use, and your notebook. Like that's it. The very first step is to pick the date and the time, the day of the week and the time. It needs to be consistent. I used to do mine on Sunday evenings before I had my son because I actually had quiet time on Sunday evenings. Now it's chaos. So I do it during the week, but you pick a specific day of the week and time, one that works well for you. So it doesn't have to be the same as Jill next door or Johnny across the street. It's what works well for you. So if you're a morning person and you like to knock out important things in the morning, then do it in the morning, do it during the week or during the weekend, depending on however your life is set up, but pick a time that works. And it might mean trying a few different times and day of the week to see which one really works for you. Because again, the key is consistency. So find one that really works well for you. But that's the very first step because you have to do this every single week, period. I don't care. You have to. If you skip a week every now and then because you're traveling, whatever, sure. But don't plan to only do it bi-weekly or monthly or something like that. So before we get into like what you do in the date itself, let's do a little bit of pre-work. There is a little bit of pre-work that you have to do to set yourself up for success with these money dates. And the first thing is to understand your expenses. So not, get super granular and specific and detailed, but this does involve making a list, whether that is on a notebook with paper and pen, or whether that is in an Excel sheet. If you are an Excel person, like, of course, I am with being in finance, or whether it's just whatever, a Word document on your computer, whatever it is. But this involves you actually listing out your expenses. So the first step in that, there's two parts to this. The first step of that is sit down and actually just use your brain power to think of what are the things that I spend money on, right? Groceries, my phone bill, maybe internet, mortgage or rents, utilities, car payment, maybe gas, kids, clothes, an occasional beverage every once in a while, makeup, hair care stuff. Think of all of the things and list them out. Okay. Don't add any numbers to them at this point. Just list them out. And then once you do that, the second part to that is cheating a little bit. Log into your bank accounts, log into your credit card accounts if you have any, and actually just scroll through. Pretend you're on Instagram and just scroll through and see where you spend money that you forgot, right? Because we're going to remember some things off the top of our minds, but then there's going to be some things where we're like, oh yeah, I forgot that I actually spend money on this too. Maybe it's yoga or, oh yeah, therapy. So go through and don't write any numbers just yet, but just go scroll through to jog your memory on some of those expenses that you have that you just don't remember off the top of your mind. List them all out. Your list might be cute and petite. Your list might be very long, whatever it is, no judgment. You have to at least first write them down. Then you can kind of, once you get them down and you feel like you got a good bit of them down, you can kind of organize them in a way. You can say, okay, these are all like monthly expenses, whether it's your rent or your mortgage, your cable bill, whatever. These are all weekly expenses where maybe it's like tuition for your kid's school or I got a preschooler, so it's weekly. You can pay it monthly, quarterly, whatever. But obviously, for some of you guys, that might be a quarterly expense or an annual expense. But you get the point. You bucket them, right? You categorize them based on the frequency in which you are spending money there. Some things might not be consistently the same. So grocery shopping, I do my grocery shopping every week on Friday. So it is a weekly expense, but for some people, it might just be as you need it. So you can have another little column there that's just kind of like miscellaneous timeline where you just drop things where there's no specific cadence to the spend and you have it there. So then the final step on this whole listing out the expenses is to assign a number to it. Now, don't get too caught up in this part. Some things are going to be a lot easier than others. Your rent or your mortgage is usually the same every month, right? Maybe groceries, if you go every week, you know that you spend about X amount each week. But some things aren't going to be that exact, but at least try to put some kind of a ballpark. And if you really are like just scrambling over what to put there, log into those bank statements or those credit card accounts and see how much you've spent the last few times, put a little average together. You will tweak it, perfect it, and improve it over time. But for now, just get something on the paper, okay? So imagine you have this list of expenses. And right now I'm talking personal, by the way. For a business, you could do this, but this is extremely elementary to do for a business, unless, maybe you're like a brand new business. But if you're an established business, you need to be using an accounting system and it'll kind of knock this out for you. If you're just starting off, let's say making less than, a few $1,000s a month in sales, sure, you can do this. But if you're bringing in more than that, you really need to have an accounting system. That's another conversation for another day. I already have an episode up from probably a year or two ago at this point about the difference between how to know when you need to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper or a CPA or a tax professional, whatever, who to manage your money, something like that. Look that one up and it talks all about that. It gives you very specific, if you're making this much, you need this. It's very specific. But for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about personal when it comes to like listing all of your expenses on a piece of paper. Because again, if it's a business that's generating some significant income, yes, you can do it this way, but it's very elementary and you really should be doing this more so in an accounting tool. Again, check out the podcast. Let us know if you have questions on that. So that's the expense side, right? So the expense side, you have all your expenses listed out. So now let's go to the income side. So on the income side, it should list all of your income streams, right? So for some of you, that might be your W-2 income. It might be some side hustle income that maybe you have coming in, or some significant income from your business. But you at least list that out and know at what frequency are you receiving that money that's coming in. Maybe your W-2 income is coming in bi-weekly. Cool. Every 2 weeks, I know I have X amount net hitting my bank account. From your business, maybe you do an owner's draw where you pull X amount from your bank or from your business every month or every week or every 2 weeks. Cool. Write that down. If you are pulling money from your business as an owner's draw on an inconsistent basis, meaning this week I'm pulling $1,000 and then Tuesday of next week I might pull another $1,217.18. And then 4 days later, I might pull $1,477.01. That needs to get cleaned up. Is it okay and legal? Sure, probably. But is it messy for your business and for your personal spending habits? Absolutely. You need to be paying yourself with some kind of consistency and some kind of intention. So if that's something that you're currently doing, hit us up too, because we can help you through that. But let's say that you have yourself a cadence of taking an owner's draw of $2,000 every 2 weeks from your business. Cool. Write that down in your income. The goal here at the end of the day is, before you dive into the meat and potatoes of your money date, that you at least already know, just off jump, how much money you have coming in on a monthly basis, and when and from what areas, whether it's W-2, 1099, whatever, and how much you have going out on a monthly basis, whether it is because you're doing some weekly stuff like grocery shopping, or you're doing a once a month activity like your rent or your mortgage, or you're doing a bi-weekly activity like paying your babysitter for a date night. Whatever that is, you need to have a high level view of that first. Okay. So that's your high level sheet, right? So once you have that, now you're prepped and you're ready to actually carry out your money date. Let's say that you planned it for Sunday evening. Sunday evening rolls around. How do you actually carry out this money date? You set the scene first. Yes, you do set the scene. It needs to be quiet. Sometimes I put on, there's this channel on Apple Music. I think they're called channels, but it's like study music. It's study beats. I play that when I'm studying. I'm studying now for something major that I will share with you guys here soon. But when I study, I put that music on. So if you want to put music on, sure, put something on like that. Put on whatever works for you. But put on your music or have dead silence if you are like me, and like silence. And then you sit down and you get yourself ready. The money date might take you an hour the first few months, maybe even, of doing this. But at some point, you're going to get this sucker down to like 15 minutes. I can money date in probably 10 minutes, easy, or less. So yes, set the scene. Unlike other dates, don't set the scene with alcohol. When you are doing a money date, please do it when you are not under any influence, because you need to be able to focus. And this is your money that we're talking about here. You're going to be paying bills. You're going to be spending money and putting in your bank account information in places. So let's just be of sound mind. So yeah, and that's exactly what you do. So you pull out that list. You see what bills are due. Okay, guys, this is what happens when you don't have a specific outline. I did miss one little step. So I'm going to pause here and just say that all that we just talked about is still the same. But as bills come in, so maybe you receive paper mail or bills in the mail, maybe you receive email bills, maybe you get text messages about your bills, whatever. As they come in, jot them down. Again, whether it's in your notebook, if you want to do it via a notebook, or whether it's in an Excel sheet or whatever, jot down those bills and the amounts and the due dates. And then that way you can kind of organize away the paper, but jot them down. So what's going to happen is when you sit down on that Sunday, you're going to look and you're going to see what bills are due this upcoming week. And if you want, what bills are due even maybe the following week and the week after that. I suggest paying bills in advance. I don't suggest waiting until like the day of the bill to pay it. So, pay however far in advance you want, whether it's just that week or that week and the following week or two. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to sit there, you're going to pay bills. So pay your bills. And then you can, of course, you can get rid of those bills. But that's one step of this process, is actually paying your bills. Then another step in the process, this is where I'm going to go to my notes because I feel like I'm missing a step. So another part of this process is once you pay off those bills, which really shouldn't take you that long, but this is another reason why I say do it weekly, because weekly you shouldn't have a ton of bills. But if you were to wait and do this once a month, you'd have all these bills you just have to go through. So just do it weekly. So pay the bills. It's going to take you a few minutes. This is where it also helps to have all of your login information like in one place. So if you're having to log into all these different sites to pay your bills, having it all in one place, whether it's in the Excel sheet where you have your tracker or whether it's on your notebook or whatever, but have them obviously safe and secure, but have them in one place so that when you're paying bills, you're not frustrated trying to log into all these different sites. It should be an easy process for you, but pay the bills. Then another part of the process is once the bills are paid, check all of your accounts, checking accounts, credit card accounts, check them all for that prior week's worth of activity. Make sure that there is nothing fraudulent or nothing that you didn't expect to see. Because you're doing this weekly, you only have a week's worth of transactions that you have to look at. Again, if you only do this once a month, now you have 30 days worth of transactions that you have to look at and try to remember. It's just not, it's not a good use of your time. So instead, once a week, go log in every single account, y'all, and check and see what happened in the last 7 days. And sometimes you might find where you're like, oh, wait, I forgot about this XYZ random expense that came in. Let me now add that to my list, or let me cancel that tool because I no longer need it. But that is where you'll be able to see that. I'm one that checks my accounts I'm not even going to say probably. I check my bank accounts every single day. It's just a habit that I have. It's not something that I say you have to do. You don't have to do it, actually. I do it. I just do it. I also only have a handful of accounts, like logins, right? I do a lot of my banking at specific places. Anyways, So you do that. You go in and you check and you see. And what was I going to say? So that's your checking accounts, your credit card accounts. Now, if you have like investment accounts, things like that, you don't have to check that every single week to see like the movement, but you can if you want to get familiar with how your portfolio is doing. Again, I look at mine every single day. When I say every day, most of the accounts I'm talking about every day are my investment accounts, not necessarily like checking and savings and all of that, but you can. But you do at least every money date, that once a week, you want to sit down and look at all your checking accounts, all your credit card accounts. Sure, look at your portfolio. If you have any investments going on, look at those as well. See how those are performing. Don't necessarily move money around in them. Like your investment accounts aren't for you to touch all the time, but you can at least look at them. Make sure that those bills are paid. So that's really the gist of a money date. It's looking at your prior week's transactions to make sure that nothing is funky is going on, and to also make sure that you're not missing anything, that maybe you just forgot that you have this weekly or biweekly or whatever charge that comes through, so that you can update your trackers or your logs. And then 2 is to actually pay those bills. And so once you do that for however many weeks or months, it becomes so simple. You also can then start to do some, like, maybe I can call it money date 2.0, some next level type things where you can kind of pre-plan your cash flow, where you know so well now, and you are so confident and clear with your financials that you know that, oh, I'm about to get this bonus or whatever, this extra income coming in from the business. You'll know where you want to allocate that, because you'll already know that you have X, Y, and Z big expense coming up, or that you want to now bump your 3-month savings to 6-month savings, or that you want to save a certain amount of money over here for this vacation. You'll know what to do when those times come, because you'll be so clear on the day-to-day of your financials. Where so many people get caught up and like in the weeds of, oh, I want to understand my money, or, oh, I want to make more, or I need to make more. It's because they just aren't clear on the day-to-day. Like, you're spending money and or receiving money on a daily basis. Money is moving on a daily basis throughout your hands and your accounts and everybody's around you. And so you don't have to know with exact detail to the penny any shift that happens. That granular level of detail is definitely not necessary, but you should have a grasp on the things that you can have a grasp on, which are your very fixed monthly, weekly, daily expenses. At least have an understanding of that, so that you can know how to move and shake when something big happens, like you need to get all 4 of your tires replaced or whatever it could be, So that's it. It's simple, y'all. It's simple, right? So there's a little bonus here. I will throw this in there for those of you who like really want to get into it. I talked about how you can do this with like a notebook or an Excel sheet, and just to kind of keep track of, what you're spending and all of that. You can take it next level and really track your spending. And this is through an actual like tracker. This you would have to do in an Excel sheet or Google Sheets. It doesn't have to be super complicated or whatever. And I've been doing this since my Pizza Hut job when I was like 15 in high school. Granted, I'm a Excel nerd. I'm a finance nerd. So I love to do these types of things, but my love to do it just makes it easier for me, but it doesn't make it any more important for me. It's equally as important for you as it is for me. I just like doing it, right? But if you were to, here's the bonus, create a tracker that actually tracks to the T every single spend that you have in income that you have. And so it tracks all the money going in and out of your business. Or I'm sorry, not your business, your personal life, all the money going in and out. So I can tell you today, this is October of 2023, I can tell you how much I spent on groceries in September of 2002 to the penny. Now, part of that is just because I'm a nerd. There's absolutely no reason why I really need to know that level of information. But the reason why I say that this is a bonus is because what you do get is, let's say for at the end of this year, at the end of 2023, I can go in and look at that tracker and create some cute little graphs or pivot tables off of it and know, yes, at the top of the year, maybe I guesstimated that I spend $100 a week on groceries, but actually I'm spending $180 a week on groceries. So I need to tweak this budget. Or on the opposite end, it could be, oh, I thought that I was spending or saving 20 grand or whatever for the year for this vacation, but actually I only put enough aside to do a fraction of that, maybe a 7K vacation. So you can get a lot of insights when you are actually tracking your specific spending. Now, I will say there are some banks, Chase, I believe is one, and I think Bank of America has a feature as well that kind of pre-categorizes expenses for you. And at the end of the year, they kind of give you this report, but it's based off of what they assume. If you're spending money to like people on Zelle and things like that, they have no idea who Sarah that you're paying Zelle is. So they don't know that's your babysitter. And like, so they don't categorize it properly. So it's not that great. But anyways, I won't harp on that part too much because it is just a bonus. And if you are an Excel nerd enough, you probably can figure out how to do it. If you're not an Excel nerd and you're interested in this, let me know. Maybe shoot me a DM on IG or maybe email us as well, like info@thefinancefirm.com. And then if there's enough interest in it, we can put together like a tracker. And I did a what do we call it? A workshop, I guess. This was probably 2 years ago at this point. It was maybe 3 years ago. No, 2 years ago. And I think I might have even called it a Money Date workshop, but I literally put together an Excel spreadsheet and did a workshop. It was like $30 to attend the workshop and to get the spreadsheet. And I walked you through how to actually use the spreadsheet. And and I remember after that, a couple of people we actually got a few clients out of that because some folks were like, I was trying to use this for my business. And I realized like I need somebody to do this stuff in more detail. And I'm like, yeah, come on. But for the personal side, use it. For the business side, you can use it. But again, if you have a lot of transactions and a lot of stuff going on, you probably just need an accountant or at least a bookkeeper. So, all right, with that, I will wrap up the episode. Hopefully this has been helpful. Definitely let us know if you have any questions. Money dates are very important because, again, it's going to build up that clarity and that confidence in your financials. And the reason why that is important is because we got to stop being so scared to know where we're spending money. Like, you're going to spend it. It's to be spent. Not all of it, but it's to be spent. You have to pay for your car. You have to pay for your gas. You have to pay for food. Now, do you have to spend $800 a month on Uber Eats? No. You don't. But will you know that you're spending $800 a month on Uber Eats until you do some kind of an exercise to see how much you're spending? No, you won't. So that's all. I'll leave it there. Talk to you guys next time. If you like this episode, like it, subscribe on YouTube, and please leave us a review on wherever you get your platform or wherever you get your podcast so that we can get this information out to even more folks. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Kendra Nicole Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing or leaving a review. Also, share it with a friend that might find it valuable. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll chat about more exciting topics and feature some amazing guests. And until then, keep focusing on peace and profit. This is the Kendra Nicole Podcast signing off. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next episode.